Hello and welcome back to my kitchen. Tonight we are going to be making a custard. It tastes super good, just as good as if you've ever had like a Culver's custard. My one daughter says it's comparable. I think it rivals it. So we are going to be making vanilla custard tonight. And there's lots of options that you'll be able to do, and I'll explain that later. So custard basically is egg yolks and heavy whipping cream, though I am going to make a dairy-free version in this video as well. And I'm going to show you how to make it with an ice cream maker, but also how to make it without an ice cream maker so that in case you don't have one. It's a little bit more work without an ice cream maker, takes a little bit longer, but one less kitchen gadget that you have to use, and works out great. You can skip this first step. I don't like to use raw egg yolk. I have backyard chickens and I know how they're raised and I know that their eggs are good, but there is still a chance, however small, that the yolks could still be, or the eggs, period, could be contaminated with salmonella. Now, everyone thinks that if it's a clean environment, the eggs are clean and this and that there's no salmonella. That's not actually true. The hen can actually have salmonella up in her oviduct. So as she's releasing the yolk, that could already be contaminated from inside her. This does not happen all the time, but since I'm feeding it to kids, it's not something that I want to risk if it's not needed and you can get around it. Sure, we've all eaten raw cookie dough as kids and lived to tell about it, and that's fine. But we're eating, when we were eating that, it was in small amounts, and not like day after day. At least I hope not. Whereas like the ice cream, this is a protein-filled ice cream or custard, and so you're going to be eating a little bit more of it. And I just feel like if we can get away from the raw egg and it doesn't take that much more effort, well, then why not? So what I like to do is actually temper the egg yolks. So we are going to, for the first one with the ice cream maker, we are going to use 1 quart of heavy whipping cream. Actually, I'm going to use 1.5 quarts. I was thinking 2 quarts, but because my ice cream machine goes up to 2 quarts, but I make 1.5 quarts. So, and 8 egg yolks. So 8 egg yolks for a 1.5 quarts, right around there. You can add more egg yolks. You can take some away. It really doesn't matter. So I'm going to warm up on the stove about 1 to 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. And once that's good and warm and steaming, you don't want it boiling, we're going to whisk that into the egg yolks so that the egg yolks get tempered. So they are cooked then, but they're not like scrambled because of the way that we're doing it. So I'm just going to put this in the pan on the stove. And I try to do the least amount of liquid that is needed to heat up to temper the eggs, just so that we're not dealing with a lot of hot liquid. So you don't want to like heat up the whole batch. So for the vanilla, we'll need the egg yolks, the heavy whipping cream, and you can just do that and just have it plain, just like that, and that's fine. I'm making vanilla, so we'll use some vanilla extract. And I am also adding allulose. If you're going to add a sweetener to your custard, you can't use anything with erythritol. I don't use xylitol. Xylitol raises your insulin, and it's really not all that good. A lot of people get gut issues with it. But if you do fine with xylitol and you're fine because it's part of your meal or whatever, and you just know that you could end up with a little bit of a higher blood sugar, xylitol can be used in ice cream making as well. I prefer allulose. There's a lot of health benefits coming out about allulose if you're going to use a sweetener. Um, and but you can't use like erythritol or anything like that because it will make your ice cream rock hard. If you've ever had like the Rebel or there's other keto ice creams that you can get at the store, they use erythritol and they are all rock hard and have a horrible texture. This has a wonderful texture, is just lovely. And the other thing that I like to add, and this is completely optional because I don't want you to, so this is completely optional. I like to add a little bit more protein to this. So, I like the collagen, the flavored collagens. I put this in my coffee sometimes in the morning. And so, I'm going to add 2 scoops of the vanilla. You can leave it out. You can add it, whatever you want. Use your own. If there's other proteins that you like. Obviously, this isn't a complete protein. So, but yeah, you can add whatever you want. I have this in caramel and chocolate as well, but my kids just love the vanilla. So, yeah, so that's great. So I'm just going to check on the heavy whipping cream and let's see how it's going. So it's not quite warm enough yet, but it is starting to steam. Need to get my whisk out. I'm whisking it now just to try and keep that keep a skin from forming on it. Hi, sorry to interrupt the video, but I hope you're enjoying the content. If you are, please be sure to subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. Also, just to help the YouTube analytics, if you can play the video all the way through to the end, even if you're not watching it, it just helps YouTube know that my content is helpful to people, and that will help me grow my channel. Now we'll get back to the video. All right, so the heavy whipping cream is warm, hot actually, but not boiling. And so what we're going to do is we are going to temper these eggs. All right. So I'm just going to be stirring this, and as I'm doing this, I'll be just putting in just a little bit of this at a time. Because we're just slowly bringing the egg yolks up to temp. And you want to keep whisking constantly. All right. While this is warm, I'm going to mix in a half a cup of allulose. If I can do this without making a mess. All right, my container was, the mouth was smaller, so I did 2/4 cups. I whisk this in so that it blends really good. All right. I'm going to add the protein now, as well as your collagen as well. All right, and now I'm going to add the rest of the heavy whipping cream in. Right. So I'm going to set this aside. Oh, while I'm at it, I'm going to add, we like it really vanilla-y, so I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract right on in there. Now, some different ideas. If you want different flavors, rather than, so you could add cocoa powder, you could add caramel extract, raspberry extract, banana extract, lemon extract, mint extract if you were going for a peppermint. And then there's add-ins once the custard is almost made that then you can add in sugar-free chocolate chips. I like to make a puppy chow with pork rinds, and then I crush that up and I mix it in. I took a picture right here, and I have to get the I will have to make a video on that, and then once that's done, I'll link it. But pretty much use this as a base, and then the sky is the limit. I'm going to grab my ice cream maker, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my ice cream maker. And I have the Cuisinart 2-cup ice cream maker. My son got it for me a couple of years ago for Christmas. So I know there's newer ones like the Ninja Creamery or something like that. I've never used it, but I'm sure that you could adjust this to the amount or size that it is. So show you my stay. So it basically just is an on-off. So my bowl's been in the freezer now for a couple of days since the last time I made this. And then it's just gonna churn it. So I'm just gonna pour this right on in there. Lid on. And then we just leave it go for about 25 minutes or so. So this actually says 2 quarts, but it's pretty full. So I'm gonna take some out, and I'm gonna just take a little bit out so that it's not quite as full. Okay, so I ended up taking out about a half a cup. Not a big deal. It's just something that it was just a little too full, so I was afraid it might not freeze right. But the whole bowl is frozen; it's got a liquid inside of it, so it honestly should have been fine. But whatever. Okay, the custard from the ice cream maker is complete. I did end up taking a little more out, so I think I'm just going to do a quart. I'm going to end up mixing the rest of that in. I just put it in the fridge for now. So I took out about a cup and a half. Now we're going to take this and put it in a dish, and then it needs to sit in the freezer for a couple of hours. If you have a deep freeze, it's best to put it in the deep freeze first, and then you can move it to like your refrigerator freezer. But if all you have is your refrigerator freezer, then that's what you do. So clean this all off of the batch. So what I'll do, just because I did end up taking more out, is I'll adjust the ingredients in the description, because I would use 6 egg yolks instead of 8, and I would use a little bit more less sweetener, just because it's a less amount of yeah. So look how good that looks. I know the lighting is really bad in here. I would have liked to leave it a little bit stiffer, but that just wasn't possible. So I like it to get a little bit firmer, but this is perfect. So at this time, this would be the time that you would add your mix-ins, and you can add them right into the ice cream machine in the last like 5 minutes of the mixing. If you don't want to mix it in by hand. I like to just mix it in by hand, but whatever. I've done chocolate chips. It's really yummy. I grind them up so they're just a little bit finer, and show you the size bowl that this is going into in a minute. All right. I'll finish scraping that out in a few minutes off camera, but I got a nice dish like this, and I have 1 puppy chow pork rind left. So this, I love to crunch these up and put it right in there. But since I'm not eating a bowl, I'll just do this. So that was really good. All right, so that is how to make it with an ice cream maker. Okay, now we are going to make the dairy-free custard. So I'm going to make this using canned coconut milk, full fat. So you don't want like the light version or anything. You can put this in the refrigerator so that the fat separates from the water. I'm just going to leave it as is. This does have a very strong coconut flavor. Obviously, it's coconut milk. But it's kind of the equivalent of the heavy whipping cream, so it's gonna blend up really nicely. But I will be adding the same amount of vanilla in this smaller batch, because this will only be about a pint of ice cream versus the quart and a half that I made before. And so I'm still going to add the tablespoon of vanilla, and I'm also going to add a little more. I'm going to add about the same amount of allulose, probably a little less, not the full half cup, but I'm not going to have it either to a quarter cup. So just kind of in between the quarter and the half, just to help with that very strong coconut flavor. And I'm going to go ahead and add the 2 scoops of the vanilla collagen powder, not just 1. Again, just it's also gonna help this thicken up more. Now, there's one thing that I may end up adding if it doesn't thicken up real good, and I'll show you. So I have organic guar gum powder. This is a really nice thickener for cold things like making ice cream or puddings or shakes, smoothies, things like that. You don't need a lot. So at the most, I would use a teaspoon. I'm going to try not to have to use it, but the coconut milk does work a little bit differently than the heavy whipping cream. So if it just seems like it's not thickening up after I've been using the mixer for about 10 to 15 minutes, then I'm gonna go ahead and add the guar gum and thicken it. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the coconut milk. I'm gonna warm a little bit of it on the stove, and then we're gonna temper the egg yolks. We are using 4 egg yolks. And again, I save my egg whites because I use them to make other things. I don't like waste. So I will go ahead and warm this until it's just steaming, and then we'll be right back. Right. So the coconut milk, I did about a half of a can. Is nice and hot, but not boiling. There's no skin, but it's good enough to temper the egg yolks. So that's what we're gonna do. And then I will add in the allulose, the vanilla, and the collagen all right in before we do the actual mixing portion of making the custard. So not quite a half cup of the allulose. And if you really like the coconut flavor, and you're not wanting to add any sweetener, that's just fine. You could also just use different extracts, and that would help with the flavor, taming the coconut flavor. Now, if you don't have guar gum, another option that you could use if it's just not getting thick is you could add some gelatin powder as well. I'll link the one that I use down in the description. Actually, I can show you. So if you don't have guar gum or you don't like to use the gums and it's not thickening, you could always use something like this. I use this in a lot of recipes. And so that would also help thicken. I would start small with just like a teaspoon and kind of go from there. And it would just add that much more protein. So I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the coconut milk into the mixture. All right. All right, now I'm going to go get what we need to make this into custard. Okay, so for this, we are going to be using a large bowl, and it's going to have ice in it. I had already prepared this because I did something with it last night, and so it's been sitting in the freezer. And so I had the bowl already sitting in the freezer. Normally you would just get the big bowl, put the ice in it, and then to lower or to keep the freezing temp so the ice is like really cold, you're going to want to add salt if possible. You can just use, I never recommend using this for consuming. This is crap salt. But for making ice cream, you can use about a half a cup to a cup over the ice cubes, mix it in real well because you're not going to be eating it. Otherwise, I found this at the grocery store and I gave it a little try. It's rock salt. And again, you're just going to put that over the ice and mix it in, and it just makes that freezing point of the ice down to the -32 degrees. So you got that. Then you want a metal bowl or pan or whatever that will fit into your ice. And you're going to want a hand mixer if at all possible. You could use a whisk, but it's going to take a really long time and a lot of arm fatiguing. So let's get to it. So this is going to take, with the hand mixer, it's going to take about 15 minutes or so, and we're going to blend it until it gets thick like a pudding. And then we're going to put the whole thing in the freezer for about an hour to an hour and a half. Then we'll blend it again and put it in a dish. All right. And you want to do this on the lowest setting of your hand mixer. My hand mixer has different settings, but they all kind of are the same speed. So I don't have anything fancy. So it is getting thicker and it is coming along. Just going to scrape down the sides and the bottom. You can see it is making, the ice cream is just slow, and some of that is because the sides of the bowl are not, my setup isn't able to like get way down in the ice. I just don't have a good I don't have a good outer bowl with an inner bowl. So it's kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. I have been blending for about 15 minutes, actually a little bit closer to 20. I am going to go ahead and add the guar gum just to help speed it up. Then I'll mix for a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to put this in the freezer, and that should do it. So right now I've only got a clean half a teaspoon. So all right. It is thick enough, in my opinion. You could keep going, but it's very puddingy like. See, it's not super liquidy like it was before. I'm going to scrape down the sides again. And scrape the bottom. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cover this, and it's going to go in the freezer for about an hour to an hour and a half. We want it to get a nice crust, like ice crust on top, and that's really going to help it thicken up, and then we'll do the final blend. So I'm going to go stick this in the freezer, and I will see y'all in about an hour to an hour and a half. All right, so we are back. I have taken the custard out of the freezer. It's been a little over an hour, about an hour and 20 minutes, because I went for a nice long walk to the bank. But it's perfect. It's set. So we're gonna stir it up again with the hand mixer, and then you can taste it. And if you want to add some more extract or anything, you can still do that. So this looks like, so you can see it's not frozen, but it's very thick. Get your finger out of there. All right. So we're gonna just basically beat this again, and it'll become really nice. I'm gonna grab a spoon and take a quick taste. Pretty good. I am gonna add just a little bit more. Actually, I'm gonna add some caramel, just because I'm gonna be the one eating this. So I have some sugar-free caramel flavoring. Zoe, and I'm just gonna add a little bit in. Yeah, I didn't measure it. That's how I roll. That's all there is to it. If you wanted to do caramel, you could actually add some salt in there, and then you have some salted caramel. You could do some cocoa powder. So Zoe and I are going to take a taste and just kind of see. Now, we'll put this in a dish and put it in the freezer because it needs to set, but you could eat it. Now it's just very soft serve. Very good. What do you think?
I like it. Can you taste the coconut? Which I don't really like coconut, but it tastes pretty good.
Oh, let me grab a dish. All right, I'm gonna put it in this dish. Nice IKEA dish. I love IKEA dishes. If you have a deep freeze, it's best to put it in the deep freeze for a few hours, and then it can stay in the regular freezer. Sorry if I look like crud. It's very warm here today, and then it's supposed to be cold tomorrow. It's Wisconsin weather for you. And so I had a nice workout on my walk. My town is 3 square miles. Like if I wanted to walk all around town, it's 3 miles from my door, walk all the way around town and come home. So it's not that big. But I did a mile, which is fine because I've got other things I will be doing today. All right. This dish is a little bit big, but whatever. It is what it is. This is gonna go in the deep freeze. And so if you are dairy free, I hope that you like this. Play with different flavors, different mix-ins. Now would be the time to like mix in if you wanted to mix in um, uh, sugar-free chocolate chips. We like the Lily's brand. and I will kind of put them in a grinder and just grind them up so that they're not whole chips, because they're kind of hard when they get frozen. And you could do some mint. There's a puppy chow pork rind recipe that I like to make. So good. I like to mix that in the custard. There's just a million and one different things that you could do. So use your imagination. I really wanted to do this recipe and not just stick with the one with the heavy whipping cream, because I have two dear friends that need to be dairy free. And so as a surprise to them, I wanted to do a dairy free recipe, because I feel like when you're in the keto space, it's cheese, 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 and that's fine for some people. Some people do just fine with dairy and cheese. Um, but there's a lot of people that have various conditions. They might get acne, it might cause them inflammation, anything like that. And while I realize that the full fat coconut milk is a plant, we're not striving to be perfect. And I never say like I'm staunch carnivore or really dogmatic about it. I try to eat mostly just meat based, so we'll be carnivore-ish or meatitarians, but it doesn't mean that we still don't enjoy some plants every now and then. And so carnivore is not the only way. And it's just really the whole food, low carb spectrum, where you're cutting out the inflammatory foods like the grains and the processed sugars and things like that. So for a nice dairy-free treat every now and then, I really wanted to do this for my friends and for anyone else out there that misses a nice custard, or ice cream, whatever you want to call it. I call it custard because it's got the eggs in it. So I really just wanted to do that so that you don't have to feel like you're losing out. And it's perfect because summer is here. It's upon us. So I hope you enjoy, and we'll cook again soon.